Thank you all for joining us today. We know this is a difficult and uncertain time for all of us. The Chamber is trying to do what we can to provide information and resources to our member businesses. We are also grateful for our partner chambers who are each doing great work serving the business community. I'd like to thank our sponsors of the PowerUp series who make this possible. For this webinar, we will have a moderated Q&A. On your screen, you will see a Q&A button at the bottom where you can submit questions, and we will do our best to get through as many as possible. We will also be sending a follow-up email to all attendees with resources from our speakers and a link to the webinar video. And now I would like to introduce our moderator for the webinar, Cynthia Rhodes Patterson. Cynthia heads the Austin Human Resource Team for the Home Depot Austin Technology Center. The Austin office employs technology professionals that design, build, and support the software used to run over 2,000 Home Depot stores and HomeDepot.com. Cynthia is a 1996 Olympian, remains active in the community with the University of Texas Longhorn Athletics Advisory Council, the Greater Austin Chamber of Commerce, Executive Board, Habitat for Humanity Board, Jack and Jill of America, the Austin Chapter of the Lynx Incorporated, the United States of America Olympic Association, and the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Cynthia?
Thank you, Quillan. And I would also like to thank the Austin Chamber for always making sure that they are taking timely action to make sure that they keep the workforce in the Austin community thriving. So with that, I'd also like to thank our panelists who were joining us today. And first, I would love to introduce Austin ISD. Is an urban school district of 80,000 students, over 12,000 employees, and 129 schools. Dr. Adrienne Aldaco joins us today, and she's the Director of Talent Acquisition at Austin ISD, where she is leading the development and implementation of comprehensive recruitment, staffing, and retention plan. Joining Dr. Aldaco today is Norma Castillo. She's also a Director of Talent Acquisition at AISD, and she leads the team that recruits staff and retains the best staff for one of the largest employers in the city of Austin. Please.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having us this afternoon and giving us an opportunity to talk a little bit about our wonderful school district and the different opportunities that are available. We want to start off just by sharing a little bit about who Austin ISD is. We're looking for a really different type of employee, someone who comes in and changes the game, as you would envision our tasks as being the school district in Austin, being very unique. And so we are able to offer different opportunities to different employees from different sectors, regardless of whether they are in education currently or in a different type of sector. Next slide. And so Dr. Aldaco will speak a little bit about our commitment to equity.
So one of the things that I am very proud of in our district is this commitment to equity and what that means. And really it's about the mindset and seeing where we are in our district, what's needed, how do we support, how do we provide access. And it's not just, it's a lens that we look through in all that we do with our systems and processes to support the growth of our students and staff and families and community in the district. So when we talk about equity, we're also talking about inclusion regarding our leadership, being transparent, when we're looking at data, looking through that equity lens and engaging our community stakeholders, our families, community, and all of our practices that we do. To learn more about our equity office and what we're doing regarding equity, you can go to our webpage, and it's austiniSD.org/equity office/framework to get a closer look at what our framework is all about. Next slide.
So just a little bit to show the composition of who we are in Austin as far as our students that we serve, our families, and a little bit about our staff. So in Austin, many times, a lot of people think that when we work in the school district, we only offer teaching positions and principal positions. And while that's true, that's a big highlight and it's a big part of what we do. We're such a large school district that we're able to offer positions across so many different places. Some of our highest need positions, of course, teachers, especially in the area of special ed and bilingual education. But we also need a large group of teacher assistants, bus drivers. We have in our district everything from food service all the way to construction to different opportunities. So we encourage anyone who may not necessarily have been thinking about working in a school district prior to really look at the opportunities on our website, because you may be surprised about the different jobs that exist inside of a school district. We just wanted to take the opportunity to talk about teachers. Of course, teachers is the heart of our school district, and we have a framework that really outlines the type of teacher that we're looking for in Austin ISD, but you can definitely compare this to any employee in our district. So if you're wanting to kind of test to see if you are the type of person that would be a good fit for our district, we have the different attributes that outline that. So we encourage you to apply online. I know that a lot of the jobs in a school district require different type of certification. You can find more information about that certification on the Texas Education Agency website, but not all of the positions require certification. We encourage you to look at our website and apply and get ready for virtual interviews. We are ready to move forward with hiring for the 2020-2021 school year, and we'll be conducting a whole lot of interviews through this method, through Zoom. So we do offer different training in our school district that's available, and there's a whole lot of Zoom. I would advise anyone looking for employment in this type of context to get familiar with the tools on these types of platforms to give you a good foot forward.
So AISD is currently seeking assistant principals and principals in our district. And what we have to focus on when it comes to our principals in our district is a leadership framework that we have been following. The leadership framework outlines several competencies: an instructional leader, talent developer, executive leader, and culture builder. Those are the things that we're looking for in our leaders. So if you have a teaching certificate, or you're an aspiring leader in our district and you're certified or you're seeking certification, this is our go-to handout, and it provides some information about what we're looking for. There is a process to become a leader in our district. And one of the things that we would like for you to do, if you're interested, is apply to our principal assistant principal pool. The pools are for the 2021 school year. And what will happen, this is our process here that's noted. We screen those people that have applied to the pool. The next step of the process is getting invited to a higher view interview, and that's an online interview. And the team reviews those higher views and determines the next step, which is the assessment center, if you qualify for that. And the assessment center requires people to come in, and we have several activities related to align to the leadership framework. And if you make it through the assessment center, you can apply to specific schools if you'd like, and then we have a committee interview. After the committee interview, the next step would be, if you move forward in the process, an interview with the superintendent, and if approved, if you move forward in that process, approval by the board to be a principal in our district. Next.
So just a little bit about our salaries. You know, we offer competitive salaries in our area. We have different sign-on bonuses and different stipends for different specialized positions, such as those special ed and bilingual positions that I talked about earlier, but also for newly hired special ed teacher assistants. So we just wanted to be able to highlight that, let you know that we also offer really sound benefits in our school district. There's a lot of information about that on our website as well. Next slide, please. So a little bit about our benefits and our contributions to our health savings accounts and dental, and just an array of different benefits. We offer, Quilan talked a little bit about sharing the slides and the information as a resource to attendees. We do have links to some frequently asked questions in our presentation that you might find useful. And we also lastly wanted to share our contact information. We have a team of coordinators in our school district who are looking for different talent depending on the group that they work with. And so we'll be able to share that information by area so that you can call any of them at any time for further guidance about our process and applying in our school district. We really want to take the time to thank the Chamber for inviting us for this unique opportunity as we have to look at recruitment and bringing talent into the district in very different ways that we might have been used to.
Thank you so much, AISD. And just to reiterate some of the points that both Dr. Aldaco and Dr. Castillo made, they have many different roles, not just teaching roles that are open and available for AISD. Virtual interviews, so great with the social distancing right now. They've already thought through that. So please, if you're interested, make sure that you go out to the website to learn more and just know that they're both certified and uncertified positions available. So thank you so much, again, AISD. Brian Ferguson is the Senior Director of Talent at WP Engine, and he's responsible for overseeing hiring globally at WP Engine. So we're very fortunate to have him here with us today. Brian?
Thank you, Cynthia. And first and foremost, thank you to the Austin Chamber for running this webinar. I'm certainly humbled to be a part of it and glad to provide any insight that I can to those people looking for work. So for those who don't know who WP Engine is a digital experience platform built on WordPress. We're headquartered in Austin. We are a highly diverse organization. 66% of our leadership team is female. We have 30% of our workforce that does not have a college degree. We see that as a diversity stat that is underrated, and it's something that we hold ourselves accountable to. 30% of our staff is non-white and 8% is LGBTQ. We're built on core values is very important to us. We have a theory that our values drive our culture, and we're an award-winning culture. We've won a number of awards within great places to work. And with that, our values consist of doing the right thing, where the best get better, making sure our employees are growing and prospering, being built to last. And that's really important to us during this time because we've set ourselves up as an organization within this particular economy that we are built to last and we are continuing to hire, which I will hit on. We're customer inspired too, and that's just not for our external customers, but internally as well. So especially in recruitment, I have the pleasure of serving an army of recruiters globally, and we feel that our internal customers are just as important as our external customers, as well as our candidates as well. And the last is really aspiring to lead and committing to giving back. We just don't want to give back to the WordPress community, but we want to give back to the communities that we serve as a whole. With that, we are continuing to hire, specifically within Austin. We do have 21 positions open currently within the Austin market. They range from engineering roles, product management roles, technical support, and sales. And there was a question that popped up just before I came into my intro in regards to sales and how do I get into that industry? What is it called? Well, I'm happy to say that WP Engine has taken the bias out of our hiring process, especially in sales, where we've implemented an assessment pre-hire that allows every application to take this assessment, and it tells us, and as well as the candidate, if they actually have the DNA to fit within our environment. So if you look at our environment, it's a very high volume, high transactional environment. And that might not work for every salesperson based on the sales cycle. So the starting point for sales at WP Engine is called a sales development representative. That is the entry point into our organization. So to answer that question on Q&A that came from an anonymous person, if you look at our sales development representative openings, and if you go to wpengine.careers and view openings, you can apply to that role there, take the assessment, and if you fit the DNA without the experience, that's fine. We'll still continue on a phone screen and determine if it's going to be a good fit. And that's it for me. If there's anything else you'd like me to hit on, please let me know. But if not, I'll pass it on to the next presenter.
Thank you, Brian, so much, and WP Engine. Again, participants, as a reminder, WP Engine currently has 21 positions open, and they're making sure that without bias, they're looking to create a very diverse workforce. So if you're interested, please make sure that you're checking out those opportunities at WP Engine. Next, I'm excited to introduce Diane Kerlin. Diane is the Senior HR Advisor at Austin Energy. She's responsible for leading and coordinating all diversity initiatives to brand AE as an employer of choice. She works directly with external organizations, schools, colleges, affinity groups, and professional associations to identify talent in underrepresented areas. Diane?
Hey, good morning, everybody. How are you doing? I'm excited to be here, and thank you to the Chamber as well. Yes, we are Austin Energy. We are community focused and customer driven since 1895. So that means that the city of Austin is owned by their community, and we really appreciate what we get to do every day. And so coming to work here at Austin Energy, we are actually serving all of our community, and we want to represent the community in which we serve. Since we are part of the city of Austin, you will go online and see different types of jobs, and there are jobs within Austin Energy as well that do not require a specific degree, and so we welcome you to apply online with us, and my contact information will be out there, so you can contact me directly about any jobs today that we are still hiring for. In addition, we have about 1,700 employees at Austin Energy. And while most of our territory miles for Austin Energy is Travis County, we do service the surrounding counties as well. And I would say that if you are interested in wanting to grow with an organization like the City of Austin, getting your foot in the door right now is an opportunity. As everyone knows, it's been hard to find talent, especially in Austin, Texas. So we are really excited to find out what positions that everybody's going to be applying for, and I look forward to talking to anybody.
All right, thank you so much, Diane. And again, Diane is with Austin Energy. Last but certainly not least, we have Natalie Miller. And Natalie is the Associate Manager for Talent Supply Chain in the Health and Public sector at Accenture. She staffs consultant to open roles for clients in the health and public sector industry. Natalie?
Hi, all. Thank you so much for having me today. If you aren't familiar with Accenture, we are a global consulting company. We have about 500,000 employees, and it's growing every day. We specialize in strategy, consulting, digital, and technology. So, in all the industries, financial services, communications, resources, health and public sector. I am aligned to the Health and Public Sector Group, which is great for Texas because there are big Texas projects here for the health group, especially when we're talking about Texas Medicaid and state of Texas. In terms of hiring, I think Accenture is always looking for good technology talent, good consulting talent. You can always check our Accenture website because we have an Accenture delivery center in Austin, which hires a lot of people for technical skills. We also have our consultants that travel and, not currently getting on a plane, but typically they get on a plane and go to clients. I like to say that Accenture is, I've been here 15 years and I've seen the company evolve. What's nice is you can drive down any street in Austin and you're looking at client names of our company. And so it's very tangible and it's very real. So I even think where I get my gas, where I get my groceries, where, all of that stuff is, can relate back to kind of what we do on a day-to-day basis. So I would definitely encourage you to look at Accenture if you are, in the tech industry or if you're interested in a technical career.
Thank you, Natalie. Just very briefly, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to ask all of the panelists a quick question, Quilon, if this is okay. And one is, at this time when people are re-entering the workforce, maybe for the first time in a while, what's some of the pointers in terms of how to optimize their resumes?
I'll go. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I think one of the best things in a way to optimize your resume when you haven't been in the actual workforce is to really identify the things that you have been doing. There are so many people that do a lot of work day to day in their community. And I think those things sometimes are not represented well on someone's resume. And it's typically once I've had a conversation with them that I find out that they just haven't been sitting at home. They've been doing a lot of great things in their community or their church, or they're part of the Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts. And so those type of things are transferable skills that we definitely look at.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else like to answer?
Yeah, I can jump in here too. So resumes is one thing, but we're also in this new age of technology where resumes are almost as important as LinkedIn profiles. If you look at the recruiting landscape, the #1 source outside of employee referrals for extensive outside search is LinkedIn. So making sure that you have a LinkedIn profile that's relevant and up to date and it matches your resume is super important. The other part is making sure that you have the right keywords and skills in your profile and on your resume, because tools up until today and probably for the next little while are still based off of keyword searches. So my recommendation is focus on your resume and your LinkedIn profile. Make sure they're relevant with the right skills. And also, as you're applying to jobs where you have those skills, make it specific to that job so it actually speaks to that recruiter or to that hiring manager.
Great, thank you so much.
I think another interesting aspect of this, and again, I'm very industry aligned. I've been in health and I was in resources for a very long time, chemicals and natural gas. I think on resumes, people should tend to be rather industry agnostic. When you put too much industry jargon in there, it doesn't trigger the right searches for recruiters. You need to get, kind of what the average Joe would be able to search on to find you. So unless you're going for a new role in that industry, make sure you, as I always say to even my own people at Accenture, keep it industry agnostic so that you aren't overlooked for searches.
Great. And so another question that came up in the Q&A, and participants, please remember, if you have questions, you can ask those questions in the Q&A area. Internships. And I'll start with AISD. If you guys could each answer this question and let the participants know if your companies have internships. If they do, is this the optimal time to apply to those, or what is the process for your internships if you have them?
We do have internships. We have different types of internships, all the way from student internships to student teacher internships to paid teacher internships, depending on your level of education or certification. Different people are at different places. You can start teaching through an emergency certification per se, and be doing we call it your internship, but that's your first year teaching. So you're getting paid as a teacher of record while you obtain your certification. And there's different options for that. So we do offer paid and mostly paid internships.
Great. Anything to add to that, Dr. Aldaco?
So with the for people who are looking for principal certification, who are working on their principal certification, they are able to work very closely with their principal. So if let's say that they're a teacher at that school and they're working closely with their principal to learn some of those pieces or expand their knowledge around the principalship. It's more like a mentor-mentee relationship to learn some of the ins and outs of those pieces that are on the leadership framework that we shared earlier.
Okay, thank you. WP Engine. Do you guys have internships or apprenticeships?
We do have internships. We generally fill out our internships well at the end of last year, based on how the schooling works. So while we do run internships, our internship slots are full right now. But
Okay.
I will put this out that there are a lot of companies that are canceling their internships because of the current financial climate. And a former company of mine that I used to work for, VMware, is actually looking to pick up interns. So that could be a source of opportunity for some.
Awesome, thank you. Natalie?
I am actually the product of an Accenture internship after 15, I started 15 years ago as an intern at Accenture and was hired on during grad school. They kept me on through the entire grad program virtually, and then I was brought on full time. Accenture is a big believer in internships. We do a summer intern program every year. Usually, I would say they go to most college campuses to find interns, but that's not to say that's not we don't always find them there. So I think looking at our website to look for internships is a great idea to get your foot in the door, because like I said, I did it 15 years ago and I'm still here.
Awesome, thank you. And Diane, we'll
Yes, we actually have already completed our recruiting process. We're in the middle of vetting. However, because of the current climate, there are some students that had applied with us that may not be able to get to Austin, Texas. And so we will be opening up probably a few more spots and opportunities, and I will let the chamber know when we do so. So there's still an opportunity, and I'm still accepting resumes.
Excellent, thank you. And so I also know that during this time, often job seekers use a loss of a job to think about upskilling or going into a new industry. What advice would you guys give to job seekers right now around upskilling their current skills?
I want to talk about that because I think that education is an area that maybe someone had not thought of, and there's different certification options out there. A lot of times people think you have to have gone to college for 4 years and gotten a degree in the education field, and that's not so much so anymore. There are alternative certification options. Some of those that we as a district will even reimburse costs for, depending on the type of certification obtained. So I'd encourage any applicant who's thinking about a career change into education to reach out to us so that we can discuss certification options that are available, because there's many out there. And that's one way to upskill from this perspective, from this sector.
Great. Any perspective from the private sector?
I think what's really important is following the technology trends. There are buzzwords of what's coming in terms of technology. And the great thing about technology training is a lot of it can be done virtually. So you don't have to sit in a classroom to get technology skills anymore. You can kind of merely sign up and do the classes virtually, and adding those to your resume might just be the buzzword that a recruiter is looking for. So you can, when you do any Google search and you say kind of top 10 skills needed for 2021, they're already out there. They're already listed, and people kind of know what will be needed. And if you can start your training now, this is a really good time to take training, because when hiring does back up, and you can add it, and it's already on your resume, there's already a good kind of foot in the door to get an interview.
Great. So I have another question for you guys, and I'm looking through, and as a reminder to the participants, there's a Q&A section if you have any questions that you'd like for us to answer. One that I will ask the group is the company I was interviewing for suddenly is under a hiring freeze because of COVID-19. How can I stay top of mind even if the job isn't on the table at the moment? How can basically I think the participant is asking, how can he stay warm in your pipeline?
I
I can
think being, continuing to reach out to the recruiter is really important, and making sure that the need for them, currently will maybe be the need in a few months, or when, I can't say when when coronavirus will be over, but just to make sure their skills can be utilized kind of post this experience, because you don't want to sit around and wait and then realize maybe the role won't be there for you in a few months. So I really think an open line of communication with the recruiter, and just saying, do you think you'll need this skill? Do you think this is really going to happen? It's a very fair question right now. And I know our recruiters are getting it. We're trying to keep people warm, but we know that people don't sit forever. And we know also that people want to get to work, and they will do that, any way they can.
Right. So you mentioned skills. So as a hiring partner, what impresses you most, the soft skills or the technical skills that an applicant brings to the table? And we'll start, if Diane, if you can start with your.
I think it's a combination of both, definitely. The city of Austin, being a municipality, we are governed under a certain type of hiring. So I know our applicants, when they're external and interview with us, they may get a different experience. And so what I try when I'm out in the community and sharing is I do tell them to make sure that they are familiar with their own abilities as it pertains to the technical skills we're looking for. And everything that we do for hiring is put on that job posting. We do not add anything additional, so no one's going to be surprised. And then, of course, those soft skills are very important as we are collaborating and working with other city departments. I can't probably say that there's one position within Austin Energy that you're not working with an internal or external customer because of the business that we do every day. So I think it's making sure that you are comfortable with who you are and are ready to win the day. And so, and having, you can tell when someone's prepared themselves. So I think it is a combination of both.
Okay. Brian, would you like to weigh in on that one for us?
And apologies, I was typing an answer to a question. I didn't hear the question. So if you repeat it, I'd happy to answer. Right.
So when you're looking to hire a new applicant, new candidate, what is most impressive to you, or what do you look for the most, technical skills or soft skills?
This is my opinion, but you can teach technical. So personality, drive, passion, people that take the time to do the research, even people that take the time to thank you after an interview. A personalized thank you goes a long way. But I'm very much under the impression that I'm character over competency, and that's a way a lot of us look at it at WP Engine. Of you can teach technical, but you can't teach personality. So a lot of the soft skills are very important to us at WP Engine, and personally to me in the years that I've been in hiring.
Okay. Natalie or Dr. Castillo or Dr. Aldaco?
I would like to add, if I think it's really important to have both. And as leaders in schools and in our district, to be able to have those soft skills to collaborate, to have empathy and sympathy, to believe in and demonstrate equity. I think those are all pieces that are important in our leaders and our teachers, and we do look for those things. And I think you'll see those embedded in our leadership framework. And then, of course, I think being able to have the skills is really important also. Yes, I think that we can coach around those things, and if needed. I also think it's important to start strong in them as much as possible. And we're continuous learners and growers, and we're always continuing to improve. And so I think I agree that those things can be coached around and trained around. But I think we need to see some of those skills as well, starting in.
Great, thank you. So this is also an unprecedented time with social distancing and not necessarily able to interview in person and in those things. Could each of you talk us through what is the best way. I know some of you hit on it high level during your intros. What's the best way for a job seeker right now to get in front of your company and be a viable candidate for an open job?
I would like to add to that, apply online. And then we can start the process of going through that whole pipeline and the process of hiring and getting in front of a principal or a department supervisor that's actually going to make the actual hire. So applying online is step one. From there, I would really advise a candidate that's out there looking to interview to get really familiar with Zoom and Zoom tools that are available. This may be something different than what we've done before. We're learning on this side, on the hiring side, how to become familiar with the tools ourselves. So I would advise someone looking to know that they're going to be interviewing here in the next couple of months to practice a new way of interviewing, but to keep all those best practices still the same, to look professional, to pay attention to detail, to be thorough, to do your homework, like Brian said, to come prepared to an interview by doing that research prior. That's no different. I would continue with those best practices, but I would definitely be cognizant of this new layer of technology and how we may not communicate the same through this platform as we would in person. So taking into account all of those things, that would be my best advice.
Thank you. Dr. Aldaco?
I agree with Norma. I think she covered that pretty well.
Okay. Brian? I think you're muted.
Sorry, yeah, I was just, again, I was answering a question here and I was more focused on that. So you might want to repeat the question again, sorry.
That's okay. Natalie, would you like to?
Yeah, I think this kind of goes, I hope this goes without saying, but when you do these interviews, think about where in your house we can hear you. I do interviews all the time, and there are so many times that the echo is strong, or I can't see the person, or the dog's barking. And I know for myself, I've worked from home for 15 years. And when I have important meetings, I'm in the laundry room of my house because I can't be interrupted and I can't have my dogs bark when the UPS man comes to my house. So as best, we understand that stuff happens, but the more you can control your environment and can concentrate on the interview, I think is really important, because the distractions can really set people off, and then they don't even know where to pick back up in the interview.
Awesome, thank you so much.
May I go ahead and add, sorry, what you said, I wanted to go ahead and add something there. I agree with that. And remember, although we might be in a different platform, we're not face-to-face, it's still an interview. So just remembering those key interview pieces around being professional and provide, like Natalie was saying, providing a space for yourself so you can so you won't be interrupted. I think I do agree that those things are very helpful. And thinking about how you want to present yourself in front of others. What does that look like? What are those key pieces there? You would do the same thing in some cases in person as you would over Zoom.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about dress code. What does that look like? A virtual interview versus in-person interview? Are there differences? What's the impression that you get on a virtual interview with someone? Diane, if you would like to cover that.
You know, we interview people all over the country for our jobs, and I've been doing that. And what we recommend, or what I would expect to see, is that you would dress as if you were in person. And so you would prepare yourself, you know, maybe you wear a nice dress or suit or whatever is appropriate for you, but that you would prepare yourself to interview as if you were walking in the door. We tend to make sure that obviously it's more of a professional setting when we think about we're going to interview you. And so I like for them to not remember that mindset. And it helps them, I believe, to prepare themselves also that this is real. I know of some interviews that didn't happen quite that way. And while the applicant did answer all the questions, you know, when we went to the next round, they were better prepared. So I think that's really important.
Great, thank you so much. I'm looking to see any other questions from our participants. Great. So one final question I'd like to ask either of the panelists who'd like to respond to this. What is your impression when you receive a resume and there are gaps in the resume in terms of the history? Any advice to the applicant in terms of how to speak to that, and I'd also like to know how you view that when you see the gap?
I personally think that speaking to a gap in a resume is important too, so you can sort of fill in that gap. So if it was that you're off because you're caring for family members or caring for your children, call that out. You know, you're the chief household maker. You know, making sure that you're calling that out, and providing reason if you're traveling. You know, a lot of people take time off to travel before they start another role. So to me, as long as you're filling the gap with a reason, that certainly stands out to me and something that we make sure to look for so we can close that gap on the resume.
Okay.
It's interesting when somebody applies to one of my roles and they include a cover letter or they include some kind of narrative, they usually fill in that gap, which is helpful because they know that we're looking at we're looking at resumes and we're looking at the years, you know, add up. But there are a lot of reasons why people take leaves. And so I think it's very normal for somebody to put in their cover letter, or when we're talking, they address it first. And then we kind of get it out of the way. Like, hey, you might see that I took off for 10 years. You know, I was taking care of my family, or I was doing X, or I was going back to school. Great, then I don't need to bring it up. It's, you know, we've gotten it out on the table, and that those are very valid reasons. And I think it's just important to be transparent, because there are a lot of good reasons that people take off work. And frankly, sometimes they don't even have to be good reasons. Sometimes you just need a break from work, and that's also a good reason. So if people are just honest about why they do it, really there's no problem with a gap on a resume.
Great. So a couple questions again related to our current environment, and I'll ask the first one, and that's, how has the recruitment process changed due to COVID-19 for your companies?
I would say that our process hasn't changed that much. I would say that how we deliver interviews has. Like, we're moving to virtual-based interviews, and actually making selections to offer off of virtual-based interviews, which has been a change for our company, as well as for candidates as well. So I wouldn't say that how we recruit for people, where we go find people, has changed, other than sprinkling in all of these lists that we're finding where layoffs are happening to create targets. But you know, for us, the biggest change is moving everything to virtual and teaching our teams internally to have the humility and empathy, and giving people the benefit of the doubt, since it's a change for all. But that's the biggest change for us, is moving to virtual.
Okay, great. Diane, what about with your company?
Well, because we're with the city, there are a lot of city departments that are part of the essential business of the day-to-day operations to keep things going. So I think some of the changes going on, we are still interviewing. We are also training our managers who in the past had not been doing any type of virtual interviewing 100% as we are now. So there's a few more delays. And so the team is working with the candidates to make sure that they are updated. Maybe we've had to reschedule some interviews, but as far as, again, with our process as well, we haven't changed anything yet. If anything, it's just gotten delayed and meetings are getting moved out because some of the managers are part of our emergency management operations, the incident commanders teams. And I think that's the only thing that's impacted us for right now.
Okay, great. Thank you. So as we wrap things up, I want to make sure that we're respectful of everyone's time. I'd like our panelists to think through kind of final words, tips. What advice would you give for the job seekers out there? And we will start with Norma.
I'm just probably going to reiterate what I've said earlier, is that any job seeker out there who has been displaced due to a change in their current situation or what they had been doing for a year, 10 years, and hadn't necessarily thought about a school district as a place of employment, to really rethink that as we hire much more than just instructional type positions, from finance to budget to marketing to the arts. And so really would encourage applicants to look outside of their sector, and if not in education, but into something different. This is an opportunity to change a career that maybe you hadn't thought of before. So that would be my advice, is to kind of push out of comfort zones a little bit and look at places that typically you would not have thought of.
Thank you. Dr. Aldaco?
Yes, I like what Norma said. And I also think it's really important to stay true to your passion. So, and also things that you are developing skills around, or that that you're really good at. So even if it's a skill that you've been doing for a long time, what does that look like in another sector? If you're very passionate about something that you're doing, or that you do maybe on the side, what does that look like in another sector? I think it's just important to stay true to who you are and things that you believe that might make you happy, but what would that look like in another setting?
Okay, and I'm going to pause right there, but I do want the other panelists to answer that question too. But another question came up from our participants, and it's, are companies hiring during this time and doing virtual training with pay? And I think the answer to that is yes. We've heard from several of the panelists just on this particular webinar that yes, companies are hiring. All of the companies that are participating today are currently hiring, and I'm sure there are many more out there in Austin. So I would just encourage all of the participants to continue to go out and search for current open positions and make sure that you're applying and you're available. So Natalie, we will go back to you with the original question and your final thought. Tips.
Sure. I'm a firm believer in contract to hire. And I think if there are contract roles out there, short-term roles that look appealing, take them, because you never know where it leads. I've been in many contractor roles. I mean, I remember starting like in high school and college doing short-term roles that eventually led to something else. And you may not see that contractor role as something you want to do the rest of your life, but if you put in the work and if you treat it like, it's an important job and you want to add value, more often than not, you'll be pegged for something later on, down the line with that company. So just don't underestimate any contract jobs, especially now when we're just trying to kind of get over this hump.
Right. Thank you. Brian?
No, I'd echo everything that everybody said, and actually to the contract point, that's how I started in my career in the corporate recruiting world, and it's certainly helped me grow. So a couple things outside the box. One is, this is an unfortunate time for a lot of people, and emotions can run wild, but try to stay positive, right? Positivity and driving that positive emotion to help you move forward. Two is network. You might just apply to jobs, and sometimes you feel like that's like a black hole, but the companies you're applying to, try to see who you're connected to through LinkedIn, or who somebody that you know is connected to network with those people, because you never know if that'll help you get your resume to the top of the pile or spur interest in a different area. And then the last area is just stay in tune with the market. Set up alerts through LinkedIn, through Google, through Indeed, to make sure that you have enough search or tech eyes out there for you to really draw those opportunities to the top of the funnel for you.
Awesome, great advice. Diane.
A lot of great things, and I think I just wrote some notes for myself, and one of the things I wrote down is, as a job seeker, stay motivated at home. And I know that's really hard, because typically when you're not working, you might go out and do some networking. What I think is important is, and maybe you focus on a place at your home where you write down what are your strengths. You know, if you've done Strength Finder or Berkman, but it's a reminder of who you are, and it actually can help you have a sense of confidence. And so I think that's really important to have you write it down. If it's on some sticky notes, I got some poster boards one year, and I just put them all up when I was back in 2008, when I had been laid off. And actually during that time, I ended up starting my own business because of some things that were going on, but it worked out well for me. And I think I'm going to echo everything else that AISD said as well. Sometimes people have not applied with the City of Austin or Austin Energy because they aren't aware that their skills are transferable. So definitely think about those sectors that you haven't considered in the past.
Excellent advice. And guys, I just want to thank you once again for coming and sharing such great nuggets of wisdom with us and with the participants. And with that, I will end Q&A and hand it back over to Kerlin from the Chamber.
Thank you, Cynthia. And I'd like to thank you, Cynthia, and our panel speakers, Adrienne, Norma, Brian, Diane, and Natalie, and the Austin Chamber team who helped put all this together. Thank you to everyone for joining us on this webinar today. And please go to the Austin Chamber Events website for the next set of PowerUp webinars that we have scheduled starting Monday of next week. And have a good rest of the day, everyone. Thank you.